What's up and welcome to the channel. My name is Headshot and thank you for joining us. Today we have the 2020 Indian Scout test ride and review. I'm going to tell you everything I know about this bike, what I like, what I don't like so much, and I'm going to tell you just my overall opinion of this motorcycle. Big thanks to American Biker. If you're in the Charleston, South Carolina area, or if you're looking online even, new and used bikes, they have them all, Indian, used Harleys, all of that good stuff. So please go over and check them out. Tell them I sent you. Those guys are awesome up there, man, and I'm going to leave their website info down below. And if you like what I do here, please make sure you subscribe and help us reach our first 10,000 subscribers. Thank you for your support. Let's go ahead and get started with the Indian Scout. Again, this is the 2020 model. Let's go over some of the features of this bike, because it is packed with them. This one has a 3.3 gallon fuel tank, 31-degree lean angle, 25.6 inches as far as your seat height. If you are a height challenge person like myself, 5'7", 5'8", on a good day is what I am, depending on what boots I'm wearing, it's very confidence inspiring being able to get both of your feet on the ground. 578 pounds with a tank full of fuel. Okay, so really good weight there. And one thing that Indian does really nice that I talk about in pretty much every Indian review is their weight distribution. You don't feel all of that weight. When you put it up off the kickstand, it feels way lighter than what it is. Single piston calipers front and rear, matched with Pirelli tires. Okay, really nice tires on this bike. This is a sporty little bike, by the way. You have 100 horsepower coupled with 72 foot-pounds of torque out of a 69 cubic inch motor. Okay, now I rode the Indian Scout 60, which is a 60 cubic inch motor last year. This one's 69 cubic inches. And did I mention it's 100 horsepower and a 578 pound bike in a cruiser platform anyways. That's a lot of horsepower. So really, really awesome there. Now, these bikes start at like $11,499. That's for the standard non-ABS black version. So I rode the red and ivory cream version. Okay, they have the metallic looking color with black. They have a gray and a blue and a white even. Thunder, I think it's Thunder White. They have Thunder Black and White Smoke, something to that effect. But in each one of these color options, you can get ABS. So that is a feature which highly recommended. So the Thunder Black with ABS, you're going to be looking at $12,399. And in this cruiser format, I think that's really awesome. So integrated USB port, you have a very simple instrument cluster. You have a trip meters, of course, engine, temp, low fuel lamp. That's pretty, and of course your miles and all that good stuff. You have a digital RPM gauge, which I'm not a huge fan of. And then, of course, you do have your miles per hour and all of that good stuff. This bike likes to be up in the RPMs. I kind of figured this out with the Scout 60 and the Indian Chieftain last year. 6,000 RPMs is where you're going to get your max torque. So you want to be up in the RPMs whenever you ride one of these motorcycles. Liquid cooled, of course, so this is going to be fantastic if you're doing commuting back and forth to work, short trips, things like that, stop and go traffic, of course, and a 6-speed transmission, which is so important, especially if you're going to be doing some highway riding. So let's go over the look of the bike, and then we will jump on it and do our test ride. In the front, it's just a single headlamp, but there's all kinds of accessories. You can get saddlebags, you can get windscreens, and there's a lot of accessories to go along with this bike. Nice swooping lines, big front, meaty front tire, man, and it's got a very aggressive kind of look to it while not having such an aggressive stance like the Scout Bobber. Okay, so if you want something a little more comfortable while still giving you the ponies, then this may be a good option for you. It uses those ball tight mirrors on top. Not a huge fan. And here's one thing too. This is going to be like if you're saying, man, I'm looking at the Indian Scout and the Scout Bobber. Do you want black or do you want chrome? That's the easiest way to break this down, because the Indian Scout is going to be all chrome. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Liquid cooled, nice wide gas tank, but it's not too wide towards, obviously it tapers back towards the rear where your legs are going to be. Like all motorcycles pretty much, so there's no problem there. And they didn't do any fake fins or anything on this bike, okay? It is liquid cooled. They want you to know that. And that's probably a big reason why you're going to get so much horsepower out of this bike, because it is a very modern engine. And I think it looks really nice, man. I have a buddy that doesn't really care for the look of the motors, but I think they did a great job with this. You have that two-tone black and brushed aluminum look, and I think it looks great. Dual pipes on the one side, of course, and a little crossover pipe right there in the middle. And then, of course, they're badging pretty much everywhere. And then you have a very simple rear end. You have the single tail lamp, and then the bullet style turn signals on either side there. And then the brown leather 2-up seat comes like that from the factory. Shock piston with 3 inches of travel in the rear. I like that they give you all this information too. It makes it really helpful when we're doing the reviews like we are. So I've told you pretty much everything that I know about the bike. Let's get on it. I'm going to show you how I rode, and then afterwards I'm going to tell you what I like, what I didn't like, and my overall opinion of the Indian Scout. I will see y'all in a minute.
Indian Scout. These things are actually a lot of fun. I rode the Scout Bobber, and basically I just asked him, hey, what's one of your biggest movers? Let's check out the gauge here. Very simple. I'm sure we have some more high beam, low beam, of course, turn signals. I don't see any other instrumentation nor buttons for it, so I guess this is pretty much it. High beam, hazard, turn signals, ABS, neutral, of course. I mean, pretty standard. Low fuel light. No gauge, I'm sure, on this one. Just like the Sportster. Gas tank, of course, it does come keyed with a cylinder, so that's good. Yeah, this red and tan color to me it looks very good. Of course, I like a little bit louder color, or just things that are different in general. This one does have forward controls, so as you can see right down there, there's first gear. Let's find there's the neutral. And it's got a cable driven clutch, of course, so I always like to do that with new bikes. I like to see kind of where they engage, because that just helps me get more comfortable with it. I typically like cable driven anyways, because it's a little bit easier to kind of get the feel of. As soon as these guys pass, we'll roll. We're at American Biker, so if you're in Charleston, man, come check these guys out. If you're looking at obviously Indians, if you're looking at of course, Indians or used Harleys, man, it's a great dealership, dude, and I really appreciate their support and letting me come out and ride some bikes. 2020 Scout. It's got a super small profile. It's very similar to an Iron or an Iron 1200, an 883 or a 1200. So that's the kind of class you're looking at. Yes, it's got 6 gears. So that's a very cool thing. I'm gonna kick it back down. But that's a cool thing about this bike. It's a 6-speed transmission, liquid cooled. So a lot of people would consider this a commuting bike, a short run type of bike, which I think is pretty accurate. And this thing is great for that, especially if you're going to be getting on the highway at all. That's a really big plus for this thing. Forward controls, and they feel really good. I know, especially if you're a new rider and you're looking at a Scout or a Scout 60 and you're thinking, man, forward controls, come on, man, it's a little much. whenever you get used to this, you'll probably never want to go back to anything else when it comes to comfort. I mean, your legs are actually stretched out. They're not right up underneath you. It's just a very comfortable type of ride. I have some cars here. I want to make sure we clear these guys. Very, very smooth bike. I mean, not a whole lot of vibration. Not a whole lot of vibration in the bike at all. One thing that Indian does that I love is their weight distribution. Their weight distribution is amazing. I don't know how they do it. Wow, this thing's peppy, dude. Of course, this is not my bike, so I'm not gonna sit here and test it to the limits, but I do want to get up on it, because you're talking about some pretty dang good horsepower in this bike, being on such a light frame too. This one's got 3 miles on it, so we'll put a couple of more miles on it, but nothing crazy. And then of course, if you don't like the chrome and stuff, you can always go with the Scout Bobber. The Scout Bobber is a fun motorcycle, dude, I'm telling you. The Scout and the Scout Bobber, they give you a lot for a, I mean, 13 grand. That's pretty dang reasonable, I think, for what you're getting out of the motorcycle. The responsiveness feels good, man. Feels good. Yes, I am a Harley rider, but I love Indians too, man. To me, Indian just has that, I don't know, man. They have that extra little just to them when it comes to power and stuff. And their bikes are a little bit more modern. They just have a classic look, but a modern styling. I mean, modern engines. So you're gonna get a little bit more power delivery. Now, this thing feels really nice, man. It feels so light. You can put little windshields on these bikes and really make them your own, which is pretty cool. You know, especially if you're considering doing any kind of longer trips or something like that. A windshield might be a good option for you. Now, if you're doing some, brakes work good too. If you're doing some two-up riding, this bike can do it. I mean, my Iron did it, and it had not nearly as much horsepower as this one. It might be a little bit cramped, but it's something you could start into for sure. A bike like this, man, you almost don't ever want to get rid of it because it's so much fun to ride and it's so easy to ride. I wonder if the throttle return spring can be adjusted. And the only reason I say that is because it acts like it wants to come, like there's no kind of delay in it, it just wants to go right back off as soon as you lift your hand pressure at all. Hopefully that makes sense, but it just, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. Man, this thing is nice, dude. The seat, it's got that little lip in it, and it just hugs your butt. I mean, my butt ain't going nowhere, no matter how hard I hit the throttle, man. It's really, really cool. Open the visor for a minute. Just an easy bike, man. If you're wanting to learn the fundamentals of riding, this is a good option. Going through the gears is really nothing. It's got a very smooth type of delivery there. Smooth shifting through the gears, up and down the gears. I mean, this is a little bike that you could rip on, dude. You could rip on this thing. Again, I want to be respectful to their bikes. But there's some pep in this throttle, dude. I haven't even scratched the surface on this thing. So if we're looking at colorations and Indians colors, leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite Indian color is, because they do some pretty wild ones. They have some really sleek looking ones too, man. So what's your favorite Indian color that they currently do? I don't know if these are auto canceling or not. We rode that Scout Bobber, and that thing had some Vance and Hines on it, man, that I'm telling you, it made that bike wake right up. And this almost being the same type of bike, just different styling, or same type of motor, I should say, just different styling. Yeah, you won't have any problem waking this thing up. Bars are really responsive. I do like that. That's good for new riders too, man. You wanna, you know, a bike that you can kind of whip around and, you know, feel like when the bars move, they're not too touchy, but they respond well to what you're doing. The bar position coming back, so if I want to be more straight up, let's say I have a cramp in my back or something like that, which I get often, I can sit straight up just like this, right? Or if I want to be a little bit more aggressive with it, I can bend over like this. These bars are kind of, I'm not going to say they're dual purpose. I mean, I don't want to brand them like that, but I'm just saying that your seating position is good enough, and you're between you and the bars and your butt position, you can kind of do it both ways depending on what type of riding you're doing. This thing's got some power, boys. Oh man, the brakes on it feel really solid. ABS, of course, is an option on these bikes. It actually may come standard on this model. Again, I didn't do all my research on this one because I just asked them like, hey, what's a big seller for you guys? And that's what I went with. So, man, it's a good looking bike. Blacked out accents, primary cover, and all that. Got all the bikes still here. I really like that seat. I mean, I really like that seat. It's very comfortable. Very comfortable. Love the blacked out. And they didn't do the fake fins or anything. I mean, they left the motor what the motor is, which is, it's different. I like it. I like the fender. It swoops kind of back like that. It makes it look really classy. Man, this is an awesome motorcycle. You see your radiator right here in the front. This thing is great, dude. If you're starting out, or if you want just, I'll have to ask them what that is. That's interesting. But if you're just starting out, or you just want a good cruiser, just something that's going to give you plenty of horsepower that you can grow into a little bit longer than, let's say, a Scout or like an Iron 883, this could be a good option for you. By the way, this is the LED right here. What a fun bike, man. It's just fun to ride, and that's what it's all about. And those shocks are adjustable, by the way. You can adjust both sides with a wrench that I'm sure comes with the bike. Very nice.
All right, so hopefully y'all enjoyed that, and this bike looks fantastic. I'm a fan of reds, but the red and white to me just looks absolutely amazing, and these things have great color combinations. So if you go into a dealership, just take a look at them, man. Their paints and everything, all their schemes look really nice. The bike looks sharp, man. And one thing I noticed right from the get-go, like I say on every Indian that I've reviewed up to this point, you don't feel that 578 pounds. On a Harley, I love Harley, by the way, but on a Harley, you feel all of the weight. All right, you put it up off the kickstand, you're gonna feel if it's an 850-pound touring bike or a 550-pound iron, you're gonna feel it all in the top end. On the Indians, they do such a great job at managing that weight and distributing that weight. It feels so much lighter than what it is. Great job there. Simple instrumentation, simple startup. You have your key on the left side of the bike. Flip it on, start it up, boom, you're good to go. Acceleration on this bike is just like what it sounds. It sounds like 100 horsepower. So if you think about 100 horsepower in a 578-pound cruiser, that's exactly what it's like. Horsepower is fantastic. The power on this bike is just fantastic, man. Now, we rode an Indian Scout Bobber last year with a paired up with some Vance and Hines, and that bike sounded amazing. So I know these things can be woken up if you kind of do that on, that restriction from the factory is there. So pay your tax as far as the pipes is concerned, and you can really wake these bikes up and make them do a really good job. All right. The bike back and forth felt very nimble. It didn't feel too nimble, or as nimble as like an iron that has that really skinny front tire. It felt a little bit more resistance than that, but I didn't really notice where it would be an inhibitor at all. The bike did just an amazing job. I mean, I only have a certain amount of areas that I can go. And of course I want to be respectful. It's a brand new motorcycle, and Indian here in Charleston was kind enough to let me ride it. So I'm not going to rag the thing out, but from my experience and what I felt, I ran over a couple bumps. I didn't feel like there was anything to be concerned with. Now, one thing about this is it's not a touring bike, so you're not going to get that premium suspension like you would get in an Indian Challenger. You're going to feel more of the bumps in this bike. It's meant to be a sportier feel and a comfortable seating position, which is what I noticed. My arms were pretty much right here. I wasn't hunched over at all or anything like that, anything uncomfortable. But I feel like that seat is probably a good 80 to 100 mile seat. Anything past that, I don't know that I would want to sit in it for that long. But of course, with a 3.3 gallon tank, you're not going to be going that much further anyway. So it kind of pairs up good with the bike. Again, you have all kind of accessories you can throw on this thing. If you want to accommodate a passenger, let's go ahead and talk about pros and cons. Pros, love the weight distribution. I think the price for what you get is actually fantastic. Modern engine, great looking bike. And if you want something different than a Harley with horsepower, but definitely way more than an iron, this may be a good option for you. And I know these things sound good with pipes on them, depending on what you go with, of course. So you can really make them sound good. They look great. If you're doing any type of in-town riding, commuting, things like that, liquid cooled is absolutely the way to go, because you're not going to get all of that heat up on your legs and everything if you're in stop and go traffic. And the seat height and everything is confidence inspiring. If you're a returning rider, a new rider, maybe. There's a lot of horsepower here, man. 100 horsepower in a bike like this. It can be kind of unforgiving. There was a couple of things that I noticed that I didn't like. The ball style mirrors, I'm just not a fan of those at all. I don't really even like the way they look, but as far as like the way they function, they seem to come loose pretty easily, so I'm not a huge fan of that. If you're going to be doing any two-up riding, you can definitely do it on this bike. I did it on my iron, I know that. And it would probably be more comfortable than the iron would, because now you have more horsepower and torque to get you moving down the road. But it's not going to be very comfortable for you or your passenger. It's something that can be done, though. You can add all kinds of accessories, although the Indian accessories are a little bit more expensive than Harley Davidson. And I know people are going to compare the two. That's why I keep bringing up Harley. Their accessories are a little bit more, but you can get a variety of them from Indian, which is nice. But with that amount of seat travel and stuff, again, if you're going to be doing two-up riding, may not be the best option. You may want to go up a step to one of their other options if you're going to be doing a lot of two-up. But around town, city riding, commuting, small trips where it's maybe just you, maybe two-up, whatever the case may be, this bike is fantastic, man. A bunch of power, buttloads of power in a bike like this is a lot of fun. So Indian Scout, just like the Scout Bobber, I absolutely love it, but I like this one more in the seat riding position. I don't like the looks as much as I do the Bobber. I think the Scout Bobber in the look department, aesthetic department, blows the Scout away a little bit. I think it beats the Scout. So as far as aesthetics and the Scout Bobber, I think it is better than the original Scout. The Scout, on the other hand, has a much better seating position for me, in my personal opinion. So if I could have the seating position, which you absolutely can, if you can have the seating position on an Indian Scout Bobber, to me, that's the perfect combination. But I like the Indian Scout. If you like chrome and you want to go that route, I think this bike is awesome. So there's my personal opinion. I want to hear what yours is down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. And as always, hold the rubber side down.